Did the world just take crazy nut bar pills when I wasn't looking or something? Let's do this. This is probably going to be the last response I make to David What's-His-Face on the whole problem of evil, solution of evil thing. We've gone back and forth several videos now, I'm not sure how many, but it's been quite a few. And his last video was 38 minutes and 6 seconds long, and he showed probably less than a minute of my reply to him, and he rambled on for the other 37. And he went off on tangents, didn't really address what I was saying in the least, and then took a lot of shit I had said out of context, and frankly, he didn't really respond to me at all. This is just frankly pointless. He's in love with the sound of his own voice. He's making pseudo-intellectual arguments that don't really have a point. My cat's meowing. I hope you can hear that. And honestly, there's just no point in having this conversation if it's going to be that one-sided. So, honestly, this response is going to be very short. I'm going to be addressing a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of what he said, and then I'm going to bow out of the argument, because, honestly, this is pointless. Utterly pointless. Evil is not a mystery. We live in an unguided universe. Shit happens. Mystery solved.
Well, I don't know how I can respond to that other than to point out that this is a very clear example of begging the question. Ultimately, all that you've done is say, here's the solution, I have it, and offered back to me exactly the position that I was critiquing in my original video, which is, of course, the position of atheism. I'm familiar with what the position of atheism says in regards to the mystery of evil, but to simply assert problem solved because I believe X really doesn't get us anywhere.
No. Seriously, it's like you don't actually understand. You don't understand. You see, the problem of evil, because clearly we have to review it, problem of evil, God, all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful, therefore should both want to and be able to stop evil. But there is evil in the world, so therefore God is clearly not one of those things. Not all-knowing, not all-loving, not all-powerful. This is a problem. But if atheism is true, well then there is no God, and evil can run amok unchecked. It makes perfect sense. So there is no problem of evil, because there is no God for it to be a problem for. Honestly, it's like you don't understand what the problem of evil means. It's like you think the problem of evil means evil is a problem. Or something, I don't know. But one way or another, I don't think you understand what's being talked about here. It just... serious, epic, mega facepalm. Wow. And it's clearly not begging the question, it's logic and reason, okay? Figure it out, dude.
So when you say the term, Abrahamic religion, I think you're talking about that God of the philosophers and scholars, whereas I'm talking about, I would say, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm talking about the God of Abraham. When you say the term, Abrahamic religion, I'm talking about the God of Abraham. When you say the term, Abrahamic religion, I'm talking about the God of Abraham. When you say the term, Abrahamic religion, I'm talking about the God of Abraham.
If we're talking past each other, it's because you're in love with the sound of your own voice, and you're not actually listening to what either one of us is saying. Furthermore, if your God possesses the qualities of omniscience, omnipotence, and omnibenevolence, then the problem of evil applies to your God, regardless of any other qualities. That's a fact. So, even if you want to say that your God is of a completely different nature than the one I'm discussing, big fat hairy deal. The problem of evil still applies, and we should not be talking past each other. You're just spouting pseudo-intellectual garbage that dances around the point. Knock it off.
I don't understand the moral indignation. I don't understand, and this is an honest question. I see a contradiction here. How can you simultaneously say there's no such thing as evil, there's no objective good and evil, everything is perspective, everything is opinion, everything is entirely subjective, and then express moral indignation at the actions of others?
You don't understand the moral indignation? I didn't like it. What more reason do you need? I mean, okay, we may not have intrinsic value, that may be depressing, that may be difficult. Cope! I mean, come on, what are we, children who need to be handheld? We need something eternal to look up to? Come on, get over it.
To be honest here, I don't think that you really believe what you just said, because I guarantee that you don't live like you really believe what you just said.
Actually, I do. The problem is that you don't live like that. You can't handle it. And I'll prove it in just a moment. For instance, the moral indignation that you express at some of the things that people do in the world, that doesn't come from a nihilist. You don't understand what existential nihilism is. Seriously, you don't. You see, existential nihilism says that life has no objective, intrinsic value, meaning, or purpose. But you most definitely can create your own personal, subjective value, meaning, or purpose. Look it up. Seriously, that's part of existential nihilism. And if you don't realize that, well, then you absolutely don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Because human beings have this image and likeness of God, every human being has intrinsic and infinite value, worth, and dignity.
Which I'm sure makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. But prove it. Prove that it's true. I mean, yeah, you can say it as much as you like, and I'm sure it's very comforting. But unless you can show that it's the case, unless you can show that your God is real, I'm sorry, you're full of crap.
What about those cases in which the objecting party is not strong enough to stop you?
We live in an unguided universe. We live in a universe where bad shit can happen to good people, and sometimes the bad people get away with it. I'm not advocating that, I'm just describing it as it is. There's no God figure to protect us, to make sure that people get what's coming to them, good or bad. You might just have to get used to that idea. No matter how scared it makes you, it might just be tough shit. Get used to it. Get over it.
Well, what about a society in which this kind of abuse is, inherent in the society itself, in which it becomes acceptable to do this sort of thing?
People in one culture doing things that people in another culture happen to find morally repugnant? Gosh, who'd have thunk it? There's not a lot you can do about it. If this happens to be an unguided universe that doesn't have an objective morality, things like that are bound to happen. There's not a lot you can do about it. And for all you know, from the perspective of the people involved, they might not want you to intervene. They might think it's perfectly fine, including the folks that you're looking upon as victims. They may see it as perfectly fine, for all you know, from their perspective, because it's subjective. We find it repugnant, they may not. I'm not saying that justifies it, because even I would find it repugnant, but so? I mean, again, it's not objective. There is not a standard to which we all conform. It's just too bad.
So, what kind of protection does this provide to the weak, to those, who really need protection?
Oh, there's nothing at all that actually protects the weak from the strong. At least, nothing intrinsic. Nothing objective. Of course, in your system there appears to be, right? I mean, you've got this objective standard that everyone's supposed to adhere to, and it's enforced by this God creature of yours who notices everything and rewards or punishes people accordingly, sends them to heaven or hell. It sounds like a great system, a great way to scare people into behaving. But none of it's real, is it? None of it really actually exists. It's all just a sham, and it's a house of cards, and I think that's what's actually got you scared, isn't it? But see, under what you call my system, which it isn't really, I'm just describing the world as it actually is, we have what's known as empathy and enlightened self-interest. We can know how we feel based on certain stimuli, and we can project that onto other people, realizing they'd probably feel pretty similarly if they were treated the same way. And so we have a kind of unspoken mutual agreement not to treat people badly, because we don't want to make them feel the way we'd feel if we were treated that way, and we don't want them to treat us that way. And if somebody starts treating people badly, well, we stop them. We send people out and say, hey, you're breaking this mutual agreement. You're going to knock it off, or we're going to stop you. That's what law enforcement is all about. We say you have to conform to the standard we've all come up with. That's what it's all about. And yes, sometimes people fall through the cracks. Sometimes bad stuff happens to people and nothing gets done about it. It's an imperfect universe. Bad things happen. But are you really a small, scared child looking for a security blanket? Do you really need, your stuffed animal to cling to like that? To say, no, don't hurt me, please. 'Cause, honestly, grow the fuck up.
Alright, well that does it for me. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this video here.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much done addressing you at all. I mean, seriously, a 40-minute video, a 40-minute frickin' video. And you take my points out of context, you quote mine, you go off on tangents, you jabber and jabber and jabber, spouting pseudo-intellectual bullshit like you're in love with the sound of your own voice. This is pointless. Seriously, I'm done. I really am. Unless your next video is like a 10th the length of this one and actually, makes cogent points in a concise, brief, like laser-focused way instead of this sort of scattershot shotgun kind of way. Seriously, there's no reason to continue to address you, because you're not actually talking to me. You're not even talking at me. You're talking to yourself. This is pointless. Until next time, this is BionicDance saying piss off. Please take the time to rate this video. And hey, if you dig what I do, subscribe. And please visit my Zuul store, where you'll find all kinds of BionicDance merchandise. If you don't like what I'm saying, there's a good chance you're the reason I'm saying it.